Hello, welcome to another special episode of Wild Wisdom Podcast. I am your aromatic alchemist, Peter Stockbridge, and I am joined by Mark today again. Hello, Mark.
Hello again.
We're talking about one of our favourite TV shows of all time, and that is Red Dwarf. This came like out of nowhere, and it was quite brave of the BBC to do at the time. But we're going to sort of like take you through sort of like a briefish sort of history of how it got started, and then we'll talk about our favourite episodes. And you know, are you familiar with the start, or do you want me to?
Yeah, no, you take this one.
It was in 1983. Rob Grant and Doug Naylor, they were writers for the BBC doing dramas and stuff, and they both came up together with this script because I think at the time the BBC wanted something different and fresh or whatever. So they approached Paul Jackson with this script, and I think Paul Jackson liked it. I can't specifically remember that, but he did try to tout it. And the BBC was sort of resisting quite a lot. I think it was about 3 years later that BBC actually took it up and gave it a go. But the first season is very sort of simple, you know, cardboard sets and you know, stuff like that.
Ultra low budget,
yeah. Grey walls and stuff. So, and you really see that, but the beauty of it just was so apparent because you have this dynamic between two main characters. And
yeah, I mean the key to any successful show is the you know, characters. You know, if the characters aren't good enough, then the show's not going to, you know, in spite of how many good stories you got, you know, you need good characters to lead it all.
Well, you need the good actors behind.
Yeah,
the character.
Yeah, and the good actors playing good characters. And this is such a unique idea for a show because it's science fiction and it's comedy, and there's very few science fiction comedies, really, isn't there?
I think at the time there was none.
There was none. Yeah, none. I mean, there's very few now. I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is Seth MacFarlane's Orville thing. That's like a sci-fi comedy, but this was, I guess, as you say, at the time it was unusual. I guess that's what was a hard sell to land. But the characters is what makes it. And you got, as your lead character, you have a guy who's, you know, been all sort of.
He was a complete anti-hero.
Yeah, anti-hero. This guy just, you know, he's a bit of a slob, I guess you could say. A boom. Yeah, from Liverpool, but likable enough guy.
They took a big chance with Craig Charles.
Yeah.
Because I think he was a relative unknown.
Yeah.
I don't know whether he was treading the comedy boards or something.
He might have been. Yeah, I can imagine he would be. He's that sort of character. I guess he would be. But nonetheless, you know, this made him without a doubt. And he's a perfect choice for his character of Lister. You know, he's the assistant technician chicken soup repairman or something is his role.
I think it was third assistant. There's 3 levels.
There's 3 levels,
third
right.
is the bottom. Yeah.
And his superior was Rimmer, Arnold J. Rimmer.
It was like a complete job's worth.
Yeah.
But he was totally fucking useless.
Yeah.
And, you know, but the casting decisions though were really, really clever, and I think there was a lot of apprehension about Craig Charles, but when he came in, and I think it was the fact that it was his accent that just carried everything through and made everything funny.
Yeah. And
it was the way he delivered the lines. And then you had that sort of, I think it was up and coming at the time, Chris Barry, wasn't he?
Yeah, he'd done a lot of voice work. He was very prominent at the time on Spitting Image. Yeah. And so he was very adept at doing voices. In fact, I think there's an episode where he does everyone's accent on the show when he's I don't know, his hollow chip is Meltdown, and then he starts doing Holly.
Starts copying people, yeah.
You know, he starts doing, all right, mate, I'm Holly, yeah.
Override the chard relay.
Yeah, that's it, yeah. And he's basically parroting everything they're saying, and then he starts doing Lister and the cat and everyone.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, he as you can see, he was very prominent with voices. So, yeah, he was a great character, and you and I obviously remember him from his brief appearance in Filthy Rich and Cat Flap, playing the frustrated TV director.
Oh yeah,
Who's basically having a nervous breakdown.
it's just like I don't know where he got all those pencils from, but there's like this whole bundle of pencils that he keeps snapping.
Basically, he's on the verge of a break. He doesn't just say his lines; he screams every one of them.
Yeah.
So he's a great character actor, and that's on Blackadder as well. They're playing the Frenchman in that one.
French Revolution.
That's
one,
right. Yeah, you know.
But he's got like a rubbery face.
Yeah, he's very much a physical actor.
Yeah,
and
playing the character of Rimmer was just perfect.
It's perfect. You can't think of anyone else playing this role, and looking at the notes for the show, it says that in early drafts of the show they looked at Alan Rickman and Alfred Molina, two very good, well-established British actors. At the time, they probably weren't known for their film work. This is obviously before Alan Rickman was in Die Hard and everything. And Alfred Molina was in Spider-Man and so on. They probably were theatre actors, and did a bit of TV as well. So, I mean, it would have been interesting if they went down that route with Alan Rickman. I mean, I can kind of see him as Rimmer, but not.
I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure. It might have worked. He might
work because he could do the grandiose sort of thing. From when he was the sheriff of Nottingham. He's very sort of larger than life, and Rimmer could be that at times. But there's something Chris Barry's got about the self-loathing thing that he just sort of does really well. Like he's just. He just knows that he's never going to be great, but he does smug at the same time, in equal measures. He can switch between the two.
He doesn't get much praise, but when he does, he just takes it. Do you know what I mean?
He laps it up.
Yeah, I mean, like we're talking about the kind of guy that will cut out bits of newspaper headlines, which corroborates his like Rimmer does it best. It's not him, but it's like he puts something as well.
That's right. Yeah, he remembers in one episode. He remembers his board game Risk. And he remembers all of his scores, and he basically spends the evening reenacting
move by move
how he outwitted his.
And he'll play it back, and on the board. It's like, wow, dude.
So you got these two great characters. You got Lister and Rimmer, the couch potato versus the Jobsworth, uptight, starchy uniform type. So it's a great starting point for the show. And then of course it evolves like any good show. It evolves with into adding characters.
I just want to touch on briefly the talent of the script writing, because I think that carried through a lot of it as well. I mean, obviously it's the bread and butter of a TV series.
Yeah.
But I think what Rob Grant and Doug Naylor did was they made just having two people, and you could literally just have them in a room. There wouldn't have been that much difference. But it was the way that they played off each other, and it's again. We spoke about this in the Columbo podcast, where the talent is all in the script writing, and if you treat it like a play, then it's just you can't really film it wrong, because if you've got the script solid, and you can just do whatever you want, and if you've got two perfect actors playing the role and who can ad lib the character to perfection, which is what these guys kind of did. The first episode, called The End, was just it's what gripped me. It was just I love this setting. It was just absolutely brilliant.
So did you catch the series from its initial inception then?
I probably not, to be honest. I would have been like 9.
Yeah.
So obviously I would have caught it on a rerun, but yeah, I mean, like, just the setting is what initially drew me in, and then the plot line of it all was just so genius. Lister decides to go into stasis because he won't give up his cat, and
that's right, because he's caught with a cat on board and you're not allowed.
So he has to stay frozen until the end of this mining trip, which is like this deep space mining vessel. It goes out for a few years and then comes back.
And in stasis, it's when you're inside, it's
time is frozen for you.
Yeah, so it's only a few seconds for him, but it's as it turns out, it's millions of years.
Yeah, he's
because the crew.
What did he say? 3 million years.
3 million years. Yeah, it's because the crew are suddenly killed in a radiation leak,
which was caused by Rimmer. There's a bit of a plot hole. I don't know why you get Rimmer to fix a radiation leak, but I don't think it really mattered, because the story needed to get there.
Yeah.
And you could have sort of explained it in any other way. It didn't really bother me, but I loved the premise of it. He's just literally him on his own in the middle of fucking nowhere, deep space, and he's got no one. So the ship's computer decides to resurrect the hologram. That's who Rimmer is.
Yeah. So Rimmer's there as his dead friend, but as the hologram image of him to keep him company and sane. And
Holly, who's the ship's computer, says it was in an attempt to keep you sane because out of all the people you spoke to on the ship, you spoke to him the most.
Yeah, and Holly's an interesting character because he's the onboard ship's computer, who's you only see as this face.
Yeah, just a head.
He's just a head rather, and he's supposed to have an IQ of
6,000
or something like that, and he speaks like he can't quite put two sentences together. He speaks sort of.
Well, it's a computer that's been running constantly for 3 million years.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And he says that he's kind of lost his marbles a little bit, and he gets a bit inappropriate. And I think it was a character that sort of grew and evolved as the episodes went on, and everyone just embraced it. The guy who played it, I can't remember his name now.
Norman Lovett.
That's the one. The end of the first series, there was a great reception. Everyone loved it, and the BBC they pretty much immediately commissioned another one.
Yeah.
And so they gave it more of a budget
and more of the backstory for the next character, the cat.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, the cat gets introduced in the first series.
So this cat who initially caused him to go into stasis evolved while the crew died of radiation poisoning, and through this radiation leak caused a new species of cat / human thing.
Yeah, there's a whole universe of events that happened whilst Lister was in stasis. It's absolutely brilliant.
And Cat emerged and they just call him Cat, and he's this sort of James Brown type inspired screeching. He's
a thin James Brown
with fangs, cat fangs, and a high sense of fashion and.
Your typical Instagrammer of today, basically,
Yeah, but also has many cat traits, it's... because cats can be quite aggressive at times and
but
playful.
They really tried to sort of accentuate what cats are like in the script, and you'll get Cat like sort of like being really harsh and sort of sarky
he can be
all the time.
Savage.
What's wrong with your face? It's upside down and inside out. It's just the way he delivers the lines. It's so good.
It's such a brilliant idea for a character as well.
But to have evolved from... So they took the whole idea of, monkeys us evolving from monkeys and apes and shit, and they well, why can't you have that with cats?
Yeah. All on board this ship for 3 million years.
Oh yeah, there was like centuries of war between two cat factions, and this is all going on the big ship.
You never see it. You only find this out when the cat tells Lister what happened in the past.
You get one episode, I think, in the first one, which was Waiting for God.
Right.
And I really liked that one. I mean, in the grand scheme of all the series, I think the first one is, everyone sort of, it's not everyone's favourite, basically. But for me, I think it is one of my favourites.
Yeah. It's because it was still establishing the format sort of thing.
Yeah, finding their feet and stuff. But the first episode of Series 2 brings in a fourth character, which they shelved for the rest of the series because they realised that maybe having a fourth character was too much. They weren't sure.
I think it was needed, though.
It was called Crichton, yeah.
Crichton, yeah, the mechanoid servant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think what they realised by the end of the second one is like, maybe we should just sort of like have him in. But the first time we see Crichton is played by
he's a different actor, isn't he?
Completely different guy, David Ross, who was a classic. I think he was a classic actor at the time. I don't know. Couldn't. It
wasn't Robert Llewellyn who played him eventually.
And then,
I remember him. I remember that episode as well because they find him on a spaceship and all the crew are dead, but he's still tending to them as though they're alive or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I was only away 2 minutes. The gags as well. They are like.
There's a lot of dark humour in some of these jokes.
It's subtle and suggestive. Yeah.
But there's some great moments and but when he eventually Crichton joins the gang, suddenly it's a 4-person setup and plus the computer.
Yeah.
And there you go. Then they're off and running, right?
Yeah, that's it. one of my favourite episodes of Series 2 was Better Than Life.
Oh yeah.
I absolutely love this episode. It's Lister and Kat go into this sort of game device. It's sort of like a VR machine, but it's like completely realistic. All your senses are fooled, and they're having a great time. And then basically, the way the game works is that it makes all your dreams come true, right? So you can be anywhere you want. You can.
With anyone,
yeah, right. So yeah, Lister and Kat are having a great time. The Rimmer comes in and just spoils it all because he's such a pessimist, right? Yeah. He's like this real.
He can't enjoy himself.
No, he just self-torturing,
self-loathing. He has.
Yeah.
Like initially, he's having a good time, and he's with his one and only sort of conquest.
No, he tries.
Yvonne Magruder.
But then that relationship with he's having in the state with Yvonne Magruder just becomes like he suddenly has 15 kids. And she's pregnant with another one, and he's taken to the bottle, and
Yeah. And it all goes downhill and unravels very quickly. Yeah. No, it's a good episode, that, and it just reinforces their characters as how Lister's basically the mentor of them all, really, because he helps shape the cat into some kind of civilized, well, not civilized, but kind of how the world works, sort of thing, and helps him. And that's a good episode where he says, "Oh, this is we can you can eat this, or you try this, and there's a Marilyn Monroe lookalike as well, who's kind of, because he's a cat, he's always randy, and he's always trying to get things, so he's like following her around all the time, and it's and he's kind of the same with Crichton as well, that Lister kind of shapes Crichton, because Crichton's a very by the numbers.
He tries to teach Crichton dishonesty and how to lie and
break his programming. To a point. Initially,
it doesn't work, and then it just suddenly starts to. And I think the reason why it suddenly starts to work is because Crichton gets so fucking annoyed with Rimmer. And it's just, all of a sudden, Smee. So another good one of Series 2 is Queeg, which I love Queeg.
Oh, is Queeg the chess? And it is like someone a lot brighter than Holly. It says, "I'm taking over," and makes them do lots of hard labour and work for a change, and
basically making everyone think that he's senile and like this more superior one's kicked in. And so he just really gives them a hard time by the end of the episode. He just like he's the Queeg.
He's Queeg, and especially just so they A, did it for a laugh, and B, so they sort of appreciate him more.
April, May, June, July, and August Fool.
Very good. I like it.
I think by this time they really couldn't go wrong,
Yeah, so they hit the ground running. They got the format set up. They got all the characters where they need to be, and then they get more inventive with the stories, don't they?
Yeah, I think they started to become quite sort of stale with it all being on the big ship all the time, and I think
so. If they get out of the ship and onto different worlds and planets, and
this is the series where they started doing that, basically.
The third series.
So Backwards
got won a lot of awards. I think it's quite a genius episode where they land on Earth, but it's Earth running backwards.
Mm-hmm.
And very cleverly done for the time it was made. There's lots of people speaking backward talk, and they think they're in a foreign land, and they get on a bike and they're riding backwards. And my main enduring memory of this episode is the very ending of the cat going for a crack.
He doesn't realise.
He's going in rather than out, and
the look on his face.
The look on his face is not what I think of in that episode. He's just quite a lot of distress, and I think that's as a writer, if you're going to write an episode and end it that way, I mean that's genius.
I think they started off with that idea, and they built the whole episode around that moment. So that was just genius, because they had to do so much working out.
There's a lot of work on there. There's fight scenes and stuff where he's punching someone and he goes, "Hey, I'll have a tooth back," and tooth's back again.
And Marooned was another good one.
Maroon's a good one, because it's just Rimmer and Lister, literally marooned, stuck together, and he's slowly starving to death and freezing to death, and
The only thing he's got left to eat is like a can of dog food,
a can of dog
and a
food.
pot noodle.
Because like, if they won't allow pets in the first place, why would he have dog food on board? You know?
Well, yeah, but it's just one of those things that you find deep in the cupboard somewhere.
No, it's brilliant. It's never explained, and it doesn't have to be. You know, it's just.
But I like his reaction. He goes, "Oh, it's obvious what's going to get eaten first."
Yeah, and he has to eat the dog food.
Dog food.
And the line is. He sort of has a look of disgust, and the audience sort of is groaning. And he sort of looks to Rimmer and says, "Christ, now I know why dogs lick their testicles." So take the taste away
from the food.
Brilliant.
And then he just commits the cardinal sin, Lister. It's just like Rimmer starts going on about how his prized possession, this camphor wood chest, and and Lister's got his guitar. So they've both got these items of value, and both are very, very flammable. So you know, Lister needs to stay warm. So there's arguing over what to use, and Lister pretends that he used his guitar, but he hit it, and then you cut out the guitar shape in Rimmer's camphor sort of like expensive box, and used that instead, and didn't tell him until right at the end. And then they bonded. It was like Rimmer properly felt like he bonded.
That's really good actually, because they go from being at loggerheads to each other, but then sometimes they do come together. In fact, they all come together in certain episodes as well. You know, but yeah, that was a good episode. You know,
there's Body Swap, which was another funny one.
Yeah, where Rimmer gets Lister's body to abuse. Basically,
he convinces them that he can sort of make their bodies fitter, and then he just
basically just indulges and just gets wrecked.
That got quite a few nods for the skill of dubbing on that episode.
Oh yeah.
They got a lot of acknowledgements from a lot of other people actually.
Yeah,
it's like it was
technically always good. Like I say, he's good with voice work anyway. Chris Barry, so it's pretty good for him to sort of dub over Lister's voice. And by the 4th series, this is when I kind of discovered it. I was at high school, and by that time, sort of.
This is 1991, by the way.
And it was around the time of Bottom with Rick Mayo and Adrian Edmondson. That was like super popular when I was at school, and this series of Red Dwarf seemed to be as well. Yeah. The one I remember the most is the Meltdown, it's called, which is a wax world where they find a matter paddle that transports them to other worlds, and they find an Earth-like world where they can breathe, air, and it's all run by famous historical wax droids. So, and it's split in two. There's a war going on, between good and bad. So on the good side, there's Elvis Presley and Marilyn Monroe and
Gandhi
and Einstein and Father Christmas, Santa Claus, and Noel Coward.
Stan Laurel.
The not so heroic side. And on the bad side is the cream of the crop. You got Hitler, Napoleon, Al Capone,
Caligula.
All played by these sort of great sort of comic actors. And that's the one that sort of hooked me in from the most, because Lister and the cat are sort of taken prisoner by the bad side, and then Rimmer takes it upon himself to lead the good guys against the bad guys, and becomes kind of mad with power, and does a daylight charge at dawn, to think where they're all massacred, but it's all part of a ploy for Queen Victoria to machine gun to death Hitler and everyone. Yeah. In order to turn the thermostats up and melt everyone.
It's like the worst plan in history.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, and he just there's this shot of Rimmer. He's on his motorbike, and as they're going over the top, they're all getting blown up and shot, and he just looks at it. He has this look of like, oh my god, like shaking his head in disbelief, like you're absolutely pathetic. And he wins, but
he's wiped everyone out.
But everyone's dead. The whole planet's sort of wiped out. So.
I like what Lister does at the end of it. He gets Holly to
turn off
the light bee, and he swallows it.
Yeah,
and he goes, anyone fancy a curry?
Yeah, basically, he'll re-emerge in a couple of days. Yeah,
that's all right.
Yeah. So that's the one that really got me hooked, and then I sort of discovered the series backwards, really, because there was, as you were saying, the first, second, and third series, So but by then it was great, and then they again moving on to strength and to the 5th series. More characters introduced, other ships and aliens, and the hollow ship is one with Rimmer's able to meet fellow holograms where he can sort of touch and there's well, they insist on making love like 3 times a day or something.
Yeah, there's a special deck dedicated on the ship to it.
So he's kind of seduced by the idea of joining the ship, you know, because he's not too enamoured with the rest of his crew. In fact, there's this great line I remember of him leaving. He's going to give him a leaving speech to the crew, and he says, paraphrasing, but he says, like, you know, over the years I come to regard you all as people I met. And that's it, really.
Expecting him to say comrades,
yeah,
you know, like brothers in arms.
No. He just really not bothered. He just and then buggers off. You know? But he does obviously come back, because it wouldn't be the same without him.
I mean, like, there's the creativity involved.
Oh, it's
with
brilliant.
Some of the
ideas they got. For again, it's still not a high budget series. You know, it's science fiction, and they're using lots of model work and trick photography and so forth. It's they have to be quite inventive with some of their ideas, you know. But it's never usually more than just the 4 of them. Occasionally, you get like a 5th or 6th character, the alien or.
It started out there. Well, it ended up being that way, where there would usually be sort of like an antagonist or something.
Yeah.
But Justice was a good one. Rimmer is accused of mass genocide.
Oh yeah,
because they arrive on this planet,
yes,
Justice Planet.
Yeah.
And this automated computer sort of it judges and punishes people based on whether they've served the punishment or not, or whether they've been caught. So, Rimmer is taken down for killing everyone on the ship. But the beauty of that, I just want to say about Justice, was that when you're in that sort of prison, there's no walls, there's no nothing. You're basic. If you do bad to other people, it happens to you. So, for instance, if you set fire to someone, you get set on fire instead.
Oh, right.
Right. So the whole sort of rest of that episode played out on that. Yeah. Well, that's the beauty of having well-rounded characters, is that you see their vulnerabilities and I mean, it's the case with all of them. You could pick out Lister and say, well, okay, he's all brave, and when he needs to be and stuff, but he's a slob and he doesn't really give a shit.
Yeah.
You know, and with Cat as well, the fact that he's so naive and simple.
Yeah.
Only cares about what colours he's got on.
Yeah. No, it's good, and they play around with that setup a lot. You know, by having like the demons and angels, for instance, where you have they find like duplicates of themselves, and there's like good duplicates where they're all nice and polite and like the best versions of themselves, and the bad versions were like the ultimate worst versions of themselves. Yeah,
it's like the best of them and then the worst of them. Yeah,
and they sort of get a chance for the actors to play the good and the bad aspects of themselves. Yeah, experiment a bit with it, you know, because the good side, they're all sort of very peaceful and in sort of robes and things, aren't they? And don't mind when they sort of get killed, and like, I forgive you. Yeah, you know.
Oh, I've appeared to have stained your knife end with thy blood.
Yeah.
Your was it? Oh, your words wash over me like a babbling mountain stream, my brother. It's like this Rimmer. They're really playing up, and they do like this little dance sequence as well. It's just like played by Brother Cat, and it's like all this sort of like interpretive dance. Right? It's the funniest thing you've ever seen.
It's brilliant. And then the bad version is even better, because you got Rimmer and the kind of stockings and suspenders and the chain,
like
nose
a transvestite,
chain. Yeah, basically, like Rocky Horror Show style thing, where he's threatens Lister to, what does he say?
I'm going to lash you within an inch of your life, and then I'm going to have you. Right?
Why?
I'm not a nice person.
It's brilliant.
It's they really.
But
just
the actors really go
fun.
for it. That's what I love about it, is that they go for it. So it never gets stale, because it's 6 episodes per series. You know, and they have so many. You know, with the setup as science fiction, they can kind of go in any direction they want, and they do. You know,
they do. They really do push the boundaries.
They go from all kinds of directions, and just being inventive. You know, I think it's absolutely terrific.
I mean, the 5th series was the series that I watched the most. Yeah, because I think I at some point I only had the 5th series on DVD.
Right.
So whenever I was bored, I would just put that on.
Yeah.
But I think the definitive one if you want to sort of say Red Dwarf, what's your favourite episode? I think a lot of people might choose Back to Reality, because Back to Reality is where they all get killed, and then the screen comes up that says "Game Over," right? And they all wake up in this sort of like really strange place. And apparently, they've been playing this game called Red Dwarf for the past X amount of years.
Oh my god!
These alternative characters, like the real versions of them.
Yeah.
But like Rimmer's like this sort of like bum. There's like this
with this kind of Doc Brown hairstyle and
homeless
and stuff,
person,
and wearing a coat that smells like a yak's taking a leak in both pockets.
Yeah. And that is just such a brilliantly creative episode.
The cat creates his ultimate alter ego. He's like the opposite of Cat.
Dwayne Dibley,
with the kind of
buck teeth, with druids could use as a place of worship.
Brilliant, and he's got the bowl haircut and the anorak and the flares and plastic sandals and everything. And
mate,
it's a complete opposite to and he's absolutely horrified by it, because mentally they're still them, but they realise that they're not them. And
the cat's the most one in pain.
Yeah, he's absolutely horrified.
He can't stand it.
No, you nibbler. And so and Crichton's a cop, isn't he, or something like? He thinks he's like this tough guy copper.
Well, no, because they're sitting in this room and they still don't know who they are. And this nurse comes in and says,
that's right,
and says, "Which one of you?
Yeah.
Which one of you is Dwayne Dibley?" And then the cat, the camera just cuts to the cat, and it's like, no, not me.
Because they have to go by what their clothes.
Yeah. Oh, I was fucking brilliant.
And Crichton's Jake Bullitt. He goes, maybe I'm a, he says, you're a policeman. He says,
Cybernautics.
He goes, no, that's traffic division.
It sounds so cool.
He's got such a cool name, but it says it to be like a virus or something. Ultimately, it's not who they really are. It's all part of a.
Yeah, it was basically this sort of squid who when giant squid under the ocean, because they're under the ocean.
Squid,
yeah, they're trying to sort of get something from some salvage, and then as they're trying to get away, there's a squid. The squid injects ink, which induces all this psychopathy, basically.
Yeah.
So that's how they sort of dreamed all of that up. The bit I like. The bit I like is when they're in the car trying to get away, but they're pretending, and it's cutting back
rather
and forth.
than film an actual car chase with with stunts and cars going out. You only see their VR version, where they're sort of just sitting on a bench and leaping up in the air, and so you're imagining this tremendous car chase, and
it's just them pretending to do on a cardboard box.
Yeah.
It's just brilliant, absolute genius.
That's a great moment.
But they started to introduce dramatic elements to the show.
Yeah.
After a while, I mean, because it was mostly sort of comical and stuff, but there were
poignant moments.
Yeah, Series 6, 1993, Gunman of the Apocalypse, which was, I think, is a staple of this series.
It's a great episode. Very similar to the one you just, we were talking about earlier with Back to Reality, where it's a kind of virtual reality sort of another world sort of thing, where they're they go into
a construct. You're right.
Better Than Life as well. That's more like it, because it's more of a computer game thing as well.
Oh yeah.
It's a mixture of the two, actually. I suppose you got the computer game aspect with the virus, because Crichton has a virus, and in order to go in and save Crichton, they load this computer game into his head, which is a Western computer game.
That's right.
And I love this because by this time Rimmer's got his hard light drive, so he can interact and touch, so he can join in. I like this one because they kind of bond together as well. They're actually helping each other out.
But they all roll into the bar, right? And the saloon. I know how to order.
I've seen westerns.
Dry out wine and Perrier water, please.
What westerns have you seen?
The timing, and it's so good.
Yeah, and also the other great moment in this episode for me is because it opens up in a sort of black and white detective noir story starring Lister, with some femme fatale in the back of a car, and so you're thinking, where are they now? And it's realised it cuts to Lister, and he's wearing kind of headset gear with his thing, and he looks like he's making out with this invisible person with his tongue out.
He's grinding.
with an attachment attached to his groin. grinding away, and you realise it's a virtual reality game. But of course, Rimmer calls him up on it. He says, like, you're in the VR machine again. You only use it to have sex. It's just like, it's
that
pathetic.
groinal attachment has a lifetime guarantee, and you've worn it out in 2 weeks.
It's pathetic watching you grind
away.
Oh, it's just brilliant. It's one of it's like so many great things, and the humour is so, I guess, kind of uniquely English as well. You know, it's
No, it's so unique. The last episode of this series, Out of Time, is what I was talking about, where they bring in this real serious element, and it's right at the end. They cross parallel universes or something, and they come across future versions of themselves.
Oh yeah.
And to stop messing things up, Crichton says, well, I'm going to be the only one that meets them because they need help or something. It turns out that the future selves need something from the present selves' ship in order to survive. They realise this, they don't give it to them. They start getting aggressive, and it's like, well, if you kill us, you'll kill yourselves, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
So there's this whole thing, and it ends on a cliffhanger, and I just thought it was absolutely brilliant because it went from what you're used to, and this real serious music kicks in, and it's a great Rimmer moment. It's great because he's suddenly like, shit. And I think it's literally the one time that Rimmer's been brave is where he's actually gone and realised what he needs to do. And he's taken the big gun and he's running out, and he destroys the time box or something.
That's it, it's like that dramatic moment, like in Aliens or something. I remember the shot, the way it's shot with the light, again, the lights flashing and everything.
Yeah, no, it was really good because it just went right to the other end of the genre spectrum.
Yeah, that's great. I like it. And like you say, by this time they got quite a few series in, and they can
they knew
take a sharp right turn and go in a completely different direction with it.
I think that's what put me on to genre mixing as an idea anyway, because I don't like boring formulas and
no, that's one thing with the show is you've got the setup, but the formula can go in any sort of direction, and with sci-fi you can take it in any direction. So then, what was it, series 7 is Kachansky in this one? This
was the series where one of the writers decided to go, which was Rob Grant.
Right.
So it became one half of the team. And Kachansky comes back. Played by Chloe Annette.
Oh yeah. I liked her.
I was getting used to this. I was liking it, and I liked the way it was going. And I thought, well, finally we're going to get some resolution. And because by this time I had read through all the books, and I'm going to bring the books up towards the end of the podcast. But this series is cool. It's not as good as the other ones because you've got this, Kachansky female character in there, so it's not like a boys' team anymore. So that's the only way that it's different.
One writer as well now,
and you've only got one writer, and I think this is where Rimmer disappears. Is this the?
Oh yeah, he did disappear. I don't know if he disappeared this series, but he did disappear for a big large chunk of it.
He did 4 of the episodes.
Oh, he did 4.
And it was the next series I think he wasn't in.
Yeah. Is Ace Rimmer in this one?
Yes, Stoke me a clipper.
Let me go, I'll be back for breakfast.
And there's not really much to pick out that stands out in this series, but it is a nice series. It's a sort of like a plot line series, I suppose.
Yeah. Which one was Rimmer World?
Rimmer World was series 6.
Ah, right.
The episode just before Out of Time was the Rimmer World one, yeah.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
That was great.
That's a great one.
It was great. Rimmer goes through this time hole or something, wormhole. It's like seconds for the rest of the crew, but it's like 200 years for him or something.
It's millions of years. Again, it's like the cat with...
because Crichton says, do you remember the Long War?
Yeah.
The 10-year war? No, the other one. The 100 Years War? And he goes, multiply that by something.
Thousands. Yeah.
It was a long fucking time.
He's there because he's a hard light hologram. He's not going to age. He's just going to just stay there. And he's got these Chinese stress balls, like things that he's kind of grinding away.
They start off like golf ball size.
and by the end they're like tiny little pea, or even less than that. You know,
He's doing this with his hands,
just like pushing around.
But so hundreds of years have passed by the time they go and get him, and it's on this planet.
He's cloned himself, or he's
tried to clone different people. It didn't work,
but from his own DNA.
Yeah,
and that he's able to, and he creates a female version of himself.
Yeah,
and then he realizes that he says, "Oh, technically it'll be a female version
committing
of incest." But then he just after a lot of.
After much soul searching, I realised, fuck it.
I won't tell her. So he creates this fucking Rimmer, so everyone looks and talks like Rimmer.
Well, see, that's the thing. They go to see who they think is the real Rimmer, but another Rimmer took over the real Rimmer, so he's in a cell now.
Because he would betray himself ultimately, wouldn't he?
Of course, yeah. Of course, it's always inevitable. He must have, it must have happened thousands of times.
It's a great episode.
I kind of, for me, it starts to fall off after 7.
Yeah, 7's a kind of a soft reboot in a way, isn't it?
Well, it was...
Because they reintroduce all the characters from Series 1.
No, yeah, and I know what you're talking about. 8 is where they go back, but there's some nanites or something that rebuilt everything.
Including all the dead crew from the original series.
Yeah.
All the things, and Rimmer's him as well, so he's kind of human again.
Yeah. So they go back and but they get... court-martial for
what the sort of previous things, which again is an inventive way to restart the series, I guess, going back to the start.
So basically they get sent down and I don't know, for like quite a long time, isn't it?
And they're
but to get good brownies or something, or they decide to go the
Canaries, and they're sort of sent in first to test if it's safe for the rest of the crew to join. And then there's the Cassandra episode's a good one. In that sense, But there was a character that they introduced in this series which I absolutely adored, and it was the guy who's in EastEnders now. I've forgotten his name. Let's go kill something. Max Brannan. The ginger bloke. Yeah,
he was brilliant.
Did he knock himself out?
He runs.
It's so aggressive. That's a good one. The Cassandra one's great because doesn't he? She sort of predicts how they're going to die, sort of thing. And
she knows everything about what's going to happen, basically.
And it's and Rim almost ends up in bed with Kachansky, doesn't he?
Well, it nearly. But here's the twist.
She predicts it, and Rim is just absolutely ecstatic. He's like, yes.
Yes. Well, but here's the twist of the episode, though, because by the end, Lister's worked out that she can't really
predict the future.
She's manipulating the future.
That's right. Yeah.
So it's kind of like, I love that whole play on it as well.
It's very, very good. Very, very clever.
But all in all, this is not the best series.
The way I remember it is it ends rather differently. Because it ends on a sort of cliffhanger with death and
only the good,
and doesn't the crew die again, and it's kind of down to Rimmer to save her, and he ends up kicking death in the testicles. It's like not today, matey. And it's said to be continued, and then there's a huge gap of 10 years.
10 years. 10-year gap.
Because there was a long, and obviously in that time, Craig Charles was in Coronation Street, wasn't he? And Chris Barry, he did a few films as well. He was in the Lara Croft films and so on. I guess all the other actors went on to do different bits and bobs. So
there's a whole lot of thing. They couldn't get the plans together.
So he left the BBC and it was picked up by Dave, which is. I guess,
they were going to do the movie during this period, actually.
Ah, yes, yeah.
But there was a whole thing about that.
It? It's a shame they didn't pull that off because they would have been the right sort of age.
It was the perfect time.
Yeah. They pulled it off, really.
So they come back with this thing in 2009, and it's classified as Series 9.
But it's just called Back to Earth.
But it is, it's just called Back to Earth.
Was it 2 episodes or 3 episodes?
It was a 2-parter, I believe. No, a 3-parter.
Okay.
And again, it's just you've got one half of the writing crew here. So again, I think that's kind of a problem anyway. But
they don't sort of
They don't talk about what happened
before,
which is what really fucked me off.
Yeah,
it just jumps to a scene with Lister crying in front of Kachansky's grave, or a makeshift grave.
Yeah.
And we learn throughout the 3-parter that Kachansky didn't die; she left because she got too pissed off. Now Crichton knows this, but he doesn't want to tell Lister to sort of save his feelings, basically.
Right.
Lister finds out at the end anyway. But there's this whole play on Blade Runner, and the writer Doug Naylor decided to really push the Blade Runner aspect of this story, which is apparent right at the end, where he comes across a clone of Kochanski and says to her, "I'll find you. I'll find the real you." And she's like, "No, you won't." He's like, "Yes, I will."
It's quite. Again, it's spite of the different avenue they've gone for. At least it's still a creative one and one we can.
It's a creative one. It's a really good one. But
it's not like they were literally come up against a brick wall. I mean, they've gone into an opposite direction that you and I would never have probably thought of. But
no, I wouldn't have done this.
And they end up in Coronation Street as well and meet.
It was a bit weird. It was nice, but it was a bit weird.
Grey Charles, but the actor,
the real,
or they think Lister is the actor Grey Charles or something. That's the one.
And then they go into this whole we need to find the real actors that play us. And stuff. I didn't really like that.
It's quite quirky, but it's after a 10-year gap, they wanted to. I guess this is because it was 3 episodes. I guess they wanted to water test it and see if people were still hungry for more Dwarf, and I think there was, because there was by that time lots of fan clubs and petitions and things. When are you going to do the film, or when are you going to give us another series? And this proved enough of a ratings hit. Amazingly, people tuned into this channel Dave to watch it. And on the back of it, they commissioned another 2 more series.
I think this was the point where BBC let go of it. And
this is all on Dave. But I think the last 2 series, they shot them back to back, I believe.
10, 11.
Oh no, those 2. Yeah, the 11 and 12 they shot together.
I mean, I'll be honest. From 9 onwards, meh.
No.
I haven't. I've watched some of 10. Well, quite a lot of 10.
Yeah.
Apart from 1 or 2 episodes, didn't really like it very much.
Yeah.
I thought, no, you're too old. You should have dealt with this before,
For my money, there's some good episodes within. There's not some not so good episodes, but there's some good ones there.
I didn't like
with Hitler again. It makes an appearance, but a very camp Hitler.
Yeah, there's moments, But what I didn't like was that they went back to the original formula of them being on a ship, and it's just like no,
and a studio audience as well.
Yeah, it's like, well, no, we wanted a resolution to him finding Kochanski. Okay, so this is probably a good time to bring in the books, because I'm not going to say who wrote them. I think it was again a mixture of the both of them before they split.
Right.
But the books were absolutely fantastic, and they took certain stories that have happened in the TV series and they fleshed out on it. So you've got one which the novel version of Better Than Life, where they go into this VR machine for way too long. All of the novels that they've brought out are fantastic, and they flesh out everything. And the authors said at the time, this is what we would have shot if we had a limitless budget.
Oh, amazing.
Right? And this is how we would have done it.
Yeah.
And it just was so good. If anyone's a fan of Red Dwarf, please read the novels, because they are so good.
Yeah, I didn't know they did that.
Yeah, no, it was really good. But I didn't like and the way they close in the novels is that Lister finds Kochanski, and they fall in love because of what they go through, and specifically the reverse time thing, because Lister goes into reverse time with her, and he goes into Better Than Life with her. So it's a whole thing, and they find a planet and they settle down. I think Kat in the books ends up finding some Amazonian babes right, in some jungle planet, and he becomes their king or something.
Right. Perfect.
Rimmer, I can't remember what happens to Rimmer. Rimmer turns out to be all right.
Yeah.
They all turn out to be all right, basically.
Yeah. Oh, it's nice. It's nice they get some kind of resolution at the end, because that's the one thing it needed, I guess, was you either leave it be or you give it some kind of resolution. And the one thing I'm thinking of is this one-off. I say a film. It wasn't a film. It was just a 2-parter that they did in 2020, The Promised Land. That was the last thing they filmed. Because I
didn't see it.
I saw it, and it's got its moments. There's nice callbacks to earlier series, because they upgrade. They get a chance to upgrade Rimmer again, and he goes, and they have to reboot him. So as they reboot him, you get the first version of him with the beige uniform and the wavy hair and the huge H on his forehead, and then as he's rebooting, he goes into the green outfit and the kind of more hollow, shinier
I see.
aspect in it.
The evolution of him.
And then the red jacket, and then the hard light version, and then he gets more and more, and he gets buff, like his body gets more buff, and he's got this kind of Superman-esque haircut and curl, and he's just like, how do you feel? Incredible. And basically, he's like the ultimate version of Rimmer. You're thinking, wow, this is absolutely super confident. It's a mixture of Ace Rimmer and
what a guy,
and what a guy, and a great Rimmer, and then suddenly his light be overloads and shortens out, and he's basically he has to spend the rest of the episode plugging himself into the wall like with a giant extension lead. So he's basically, for all the action scenes, he's like powering along like he's a hedge trimmer. He's basically, I can't keep up with you, I've run out of extension, and he's to keep finding little plugs to plug himself in to stay alive. But there's little there's flashes of the original thing, but ultimately it's in a slightly bigger budget with the effects. There were lots more CG and Starbug on this desert planet, and aliens and things. Sort of action scenes. It's got these moments, but again, it's just more of a greatest hits kind of thing.
Yeah, for me, it's clutching onto something that's done, and the evolution of it passed, and I think that. The magic when they started aging, and the guy who plays Percy in Blackadder says it perfectly, because there's a making of, and they were talking recently about it, and Rowan says, would you go back and do another series if we were offered? And he was like, no, because we're too old, we don't suit the look anymore, Yeah. And it's nothing personal. It's just like the time has passed.
Yeah, so. There's a time when you leave it a few years in between, but when you sort of have 20 years or so, it's But I think they get away with it in Red Dwarf to a point where, because it is science fiction and a comedy, you can afford to take certain liberties with the format.
Yeah.
Whether or not they're still going to continue or not, I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if you get like another one-off thing in the future. Who knows?
I think that's kind of it for me.
Yeah.
Back to Earth was too painful, because I was like, well, I want to know what happened. It's been 10 years. Why haven't you told me? And I was just really upset about that, because I wanted to know.
The hype was massive around that.
And it was a bit of a letdown. But I tell you one thing, though. The opening scene with Craig Charles, just superb acting. Yeah. Just it broke my heart. He was just sitting, he was so gutted. Yeah. They dropped the ball after 7, as far as I'm concerned.
They did.
They really should have done, right, look, just commission us for another 2 series. We'll round it all off.
If they did, yeah. I mean, again, it depends. If they said, look, we'll give you this amount of money if you give us 3 or 4 series sort of thing. So, yeah, I guess in some cases, maybe the money was too good to turn down, and they just said, well, you just want a traditional, like how we used to be, a 6-episode series with... in front of an audience, and they get into scrapes on other planets,
but it didn't work because there was no resolution for the previous. It's just like
I agree, but
there's a 10-year gap that we need to expect.
But they can always resolve that in this format, because again, it was science fiction, and
you still have to kind of obey some rules, though, because it's like you can't just not tell us what happened. If you're going to do that, at least drip feed us what happened throughout the series.
Yeah, no, I'm with you.
Which they didn't really do. At least we've got what we've got, and I have a resolution via the way of the novel.
No novels, exactly.
So I'm satisfied with it. So in that regard, I don't want to see anything else. Yeah. Because it's like, well, they're old. It conflicts with my canon. Yeah. So
there was nothing like this before, and there's very few things that are kind of after. I can't think of another show that was like, oh, this is like Red Dwarf.
No.
And it's funny and clever at times as well, and that's what it should be. It's just you have a laugh and just enjoy it for what it is. I mean, we still get a kick out of it. The fact that what we're talking about today,
I'll be watching it until I die. It's one of those things.
A lot of fond memories.
It's like when you're ill You know when you're ill, you're feeling sorry for yourself, you always put on TV shows that you like. So for me, it's always like Blackadder and Red Dwarf and, you know, Faulty Towers and stuff.
Yeah.
Just watch it religiously.
Yeah, it's good. If it makes you feel good, you know, it's not doing you any harm, then, you know, we enjoy it, you know.
That's going to wrap it up. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to comment or engage us in any conversation, please write down in the description below. Subscribe, like, click the thumbnail button, do things for us, and we will love you in return. Thank you very much. Say goodbye.
Thank you very much.
Okay, everyone. Thank you. Bye now.
Smoke me a kipper. I'll be back for breakfast.
What a guy.